maybe it happened to you too. You've had a lazy weekend. You didn't go to work, didn't clean, didn't even move much, but somehow you still feel exhausted. Your body's heavy, your mind's foggy, and you're wondering, wait, how can I be tired when I did absolutely nothing? Well, it turns out your body and brain have a pretty interesting explanation for that. In this videocast, we're gonna dive deep into the real science behind doing nothing fatigue. And trust me, it's not just in your head.
Okay, we've all been there, right? You have this amazing day off, totally clear schedule, and you think, right, ultimate self-care, I'm going to do absolutely nothing, just pure physical rest. So you basically migrate from the bed to the couch, maybe scroll a bit, maybe binge watch something, haven't lifted a finger. And yet, somehow, 5 hours later, you feel heavy, sluggish, just drained. You kind of sigh and think, oh, why am I so tired? I haven't actually done anything.
It's such a paradox, isn't it? You try to rest properly, follow the rules, and you end up feeling worse, not better. We just assume stillness means saving energy. But yeah, for a lot of people, doing absolutely nothing generates this really deep, almost oppressive fatigue.
Okay, let's unpack this, because that feeling, that weird exhaustion from doing nothing, it's not laziness, not at all. It's more like a signal, a message from your body. Our sources have some really fascinating stuff on the biology and psychology behind this. So today, we're doing a deep dive to figure out what that message actually is.
Yeah, our mission here is to understand why our bodies, which are, built for survival, seem to almost rebel against total stillness. We need to kind of look under the hood, see what the operating system's doing when we suddenly slam it into neutral.
Right. Let's start with segment 1 then, the body in neutral. We're told rest saves energy, but if you're genuinely sedentary for hours, what's actually happening mechanically that makes you feel stiff and tired?
Well, the first big thing, and it's really crucial, is about circulation, the body.
Mm-hmm.
It just doesn't handle extreme idleness that well. It relies on movement for things to work optimally, specifically something called the muscle pump.
The muscle pump, what's that?
So when you're super inactive, your muscles aren't contracting much, right? And those contractions are vital because they help push blood, especially the deoxygenated blood from your limbs, back up toward the heart. That's called venous return.
Okay, so if the muscles aren't pitching in, the heart's working harder just to get the blood back against gravity and all that.
Exactly. And when that flow slows down, the effects are pretty immediate. Less blood is circulating efficiently, which means less oxygen and fewer nutrients are actually reaching your tissues, especially further out. We tend to think oxygen intake is just about the lungs, but getting it delivered where it needs to go, that's heavily tied to movement.
And less oxygen means, well, our cells can't produce energy properly. Is that the link? Like the mitochondria, the cell power plants?
That's spot on. That's a critical piece. Studies actually show that when people stay faced, sitting or lying down for a long time, their systemic oxygen saturation can actively drop. Your body kind of goes into low power mode in response. And that's what you feel as low energy, that depletion. One source used a great analogy, like a bike you haven't touched for days. It gets stiff, feels heavy, needs a huge effort just to start moving again. The body's similar. It needs a bit of momentum.
Okay, so that physical stagnation, that lack of momentum, makes us vulnerable. If we're barely moving, we're running on minimal inputs. How does diet and hydration fit into that picture?
Well, think about how we evolved, right? Walking, stretching, just sort of continuous low-level exertion. That's the baseline. Take that away, and your whole metabolism slows down. Now, if you feed that slow-running system poor fuel like junk food or not enough water, the body struggles even more.
So it's not just the lack of good stuff, but adding bad stuff to an already sluggish system.
Precisely. Even mild dehydration makes your blood slightly thicker, which makes that circulation problem we talked about, the muscle pump failure, even worse. And poor nutrition, that can trigger subtle inflammation, which also drains resources. It becomes this kind of systemic slowdown made worse by not having enough water or the right nutrients.
That makes total sense. Okay, we've covered the muscles, the circulation, mechanics. But if the body's slowing down to save resources, surely the mind gets a break. And here's where it gets really interesting. Let's switch focus to the mental drain.
Yeah, that's probably the biggest misconception about this kind of rest. We think body still equals brain calm. But often, It's the exact opposite. When your body isn't busy, like processing the outside world or guiding movement, your brain switches to its internal network. It's called the default mode network, the DMN.
The DMN, default mode network. What exactly does that do?
It's basically your brain's screensaver mode,
Ah.
but it's not restful. When you're not focused on a specific task, just sitting there on the couch, the DMN fires up, and your mind starts wandering. But it's not usually calm, peaceful wandering. It's often intense. You might start replaying old arguments or worrying intensely about things you need to do or just ruminating on problems.
So even though you're physically just lying there, your brain is running these really complex, often stressful internal simulations.
Exactly. And that constant, unguided internal churn, you use a lot of energy. That deep, nonstop internal processing is what we call mental fatigue. Think about how absolutely drained you can feel after a day just consumed by worry, maybe about an exam or a difficult conversation. You haven't moved much, but your brain has been working overtime.
Wow. And that brain activity must connect to the physical side too, right? Which I think is reason 4. The physical effects of that emotional pressure. If your mind is simulating stress, the body probably follows along, even if there's no real danger.
That's the core issue, really. Stress, anxiety, even just feeling overwhelmed cognitively. It keeps your body on high alert. So even while you're sitting perfectly still, maybe your heart rate is a bit elevated, your breathing might be shallower, your muscles hold this low-level tension.
Yeah, we've all felt that, haven't we? That racing heart when you're just sitting there waiting for important news or something. That tension is energy being used, right? Preparing for something, even if you don't move.
It's the body priming itself for fight or flight, but the flight or fight never happens. There's no action to release it. So you get this sustained, low-level physiological stress. Hormones like cortisol are pumping. It's incredibly taxing. You're essentially burning energy on ready mode without any physical outlet to metabolize those stress chemicals. This is why the sources confirm that things like chronic stress, anxiety, even hormonal imbalances can lead to feeling profoundly tired no matter how much you sleep.
Okay, let's shift to segment 3 now, because all of this, the physical slowdown, the mental churn, the stress response, it seems to create this kind of vicious cycle. We're calling it the lazy loop.
Yes, and this loop is maybe the trickiest part to escape because it builds momentum, but in the wrong direction. Logically, when you feel tired, what do? You rest more. But the more you rest, meaning the more sedentary you become, the more those physical and mental drains we just talked about kick in, which in turn makes you feel even more tired.
So in this specific context, more rest actually becomes the enemy of feeling refreshed. The body's kind of lying to itself about what it needs.
Precisely. It's an insidious cycle. Less movement leads to lower oxygen circulation, less efficient venous return, which leads to feeling low on energy, which makes you want to rest more, which further reduces circulation. And round it goes. Research actually shows that even skipping small bits of morning movement like a quick walk or a few stretches can make you feel significantly more drained later in the day. The system never got that initial kickstart.
That totally explains why sometimes getting up and moving a little bit is the best cure for that afternoon slump. It breaks the cycle.
That's the secret, exactly. And if we zoom out a bit more, connect this to the bigger picture. That brings us to reason 6, the deeper cellular biological signals. Sometimes fatigue isn't just about running out of gas. It's a deliberate protective signal triggered by inflammation.
Inflammation, we hear that word a lot. How does that make you tired from just sitting on the couch?
Well, inflammation is basically your body's emergency response system to damage, infection, or even chronic stress. When there's inflammation present, maybe you're fighting off a bug, maybe it's from poor diet, maybe even that chronic mental stress we mentioned, your body releases these powerful immune signaling chemicals. They're called cytokines.
Cytokines, okay. And what do these immune signals do to our energy levels?
Cytokines have a very clear job. Tell the body to divert all available resources towards healing or fighting the threat. And they don't just stay local. They talk directly to your central nervous system, to your brain. They trigger what scientists call sickness behavior. It's a whole suite of symptoms. Sleepiness, loss of appetite, wanting to withdraw, and profound weakness or fatigue.
Ah, okay. So the body is intentionally making you feel tired. It's generating fatigue to force a shutdown so it can focus energy on healing.
Absolutely. Think about having the flu, right? You feel utterly exhausted, even if you've slept for 12 hours straight. That overwhelming tiredness, that's your body's strategy. It's the cytokines telling your brain, hey, slow everything down. We need all hands on deck to fight this infection. Now, if you're chronically sedentary, stressed, or eating poorly, that cytokine release might not be acute like the flu, but it can become chronic, low level. leading to that persistent, nagging exhaustion that doesn't seem linked to effort.
Wow. Okay, that really ties all 6 reasons together, doesn't it? You've got the circulation failure from the muscle pump not working, the energy drain from the brain's default mode network running wild, the physical cost of chronic stress keeping you on alert, then the compounding effect of poor fuel like bad diet or dehydration, the self-perpetuating lazy loop where resting makes you more tired, and finally these deep biological signals from inflammation using cytokines to deliberately induce fatigue.
Exactly. And the main takeaway, the big conclusion from all this, is really powerful. Feeling tired after doing nothing doesn't mean you're lazy. It doesn't mean you failed at resting. It means your body and your mind are fundamentally out of sync. They're reacting against that extreme stillness.
So what does this all mean then? If that tiredness is a message, what's the core adjustment the body's asking for?
It's basically asking for the things it's designed for, all kept in balance. It needs targeted movement. It needs periods of calm and focused thought, not just DMN wandering. It needs proper nutrition and hydration. And yes, it needs quality, restorative sleep, which is different from just being sedentary while awake. When that balance tips too far towards zero movement during waking hours, the whole system starts to malfunction.
Right. So the tiredness is just the indicator light. It's information saying, hey, something needs a little kinetic adjustment.
Precisely. And the really good news here is that the fix doesn't usually require some massive life overhaul. The research points to small, targeted adjustments, things that specifically address the mechanisms we've been talking about. If you're feeling that sluggish couch potato fatigue, your body's basically begging for something simple to restart the momentum.
Okay, so what's the action plan? If you're feeling that drain, how do you interrupt the cytokines, break the lazy loop with something small?
Start super simple, a kinetic change. Get up, walk around for just 2 minutes, do a few deep stretches. That immediately restarts the muscle pump. It boosts venous return, gets more oxygen flowing to your brain and body. That's step 1. Step 2, tackle the fluids. Go grab a big glass of water right away. It helps blood volume, counteracts any mild dehydration, makes circulation easier. And third, use that brief movement to consciously shift your focus. Interrupt the DMN. Look out the window, notice something outside. Break the rumination cycle, even for 60 seconds.
Small movements, creating momentum, kicking the circulation back in, telling the brain to look outward for a second, shifting the metabolism just enough, breaking the loop.
It's really about generating just that little bit of friction needed to overcome the inertia of stillness.
So for you listening, the next time you find yourself feeling wiped out after an afternoon of doing nothing, try not to just sink deeper into the couch. Remember this deep dive. Don't blame yourself. Analyze the signal. What might your body actually be asking for? Just remember, the human engine thrives on momentum, not perpetual stillness. Sometimes, truly, the smallest acts of movement can unlock the biggest changes in your energy. It proves that real rest isn't always found in just being still, but often in finding that dynamic balance.
Feeling tired after doing nothing isn't laziness or weakness. It's your body's way of saying, hey, I need movement, purpose, and rhythm. When your brain doesn't get stimulation or structure, it starts to slow down. And that's what creates that weird kind of tiredness. So next time you feel drained after a lazy day, maybe what you actually need isn't more rest, but a little meaningful activity. I'm so glad you were here with me today. If you enjoyed this videocast, don't forget to hit that subscribe button because we've got plenty more fascinating science coming your way.